The Village of Oaklawn and the Oaklawn Rotary Club organizing this event. I'd like to first call up Oaklawn Community High School Choir to sing our national anthem. Please come up.
Honor guard, watch hands, look. Present, home.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Order, hold. At ease.
Thank you. Pastor Peggy McClanahan of the Pilgrim Faith Church of Christ is going to do our opening prayer. Pastor Peggy.
Let us pause for a moment of prayer. Oh God, on this day when we remember a terrible time, when we were afraid, when we were threatened, when there was horrible loss, we give you thanks that you are always with us. We give you thanks that you make us strong in times of difficulty. We give you thanks that you make it possible for us to pull together and to move forward with love and with hope, to build a good life for all. On this day, we remember all those who lost their lives on September 11th, 2001. We remember all of their families and loved ones who are mourning still. We ask that you bring your continuing comfort and care to all for whom that loss was so very personal. We give you thanks for the first responders who were there that day and every time they're needed anywhere. We thank you for their courage. We thank you for their commitment. We thank you for the ways they give of themselves and sometimes give of their lives that others might live. We ask you to bring your comfort to their families, especially the families of those who lost their lives on 9/11, and comfort to the families of all who serve, even to this day, that you might make them strong and make them brave and continue to hold them in your care. We ask you to be with all of us as we go forward this day and every day with a spirit of hope, determined to make life better for all, determined to be helpers to anyone who needs it, determined to step up and pull together and be a people who care and a people who are always there for everyone to make life better. We ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.
I'd like to call a member from our Johnson Phelps VFW to lead us in the pledge, please.
Oh, sure. Good morning. I'd like to recognize the Oak Lawn Honor Guard from the Oak Lawn Police Department, along with our first responders, fire and law enforcement. And it's an honor. I have my comrades from the VFW here, and it's our honor to pay homage to the fallen of 9/11.
Thank you very much. I want to welcome everyone who took time out of their day to come here today. It is important to remember. It's wonderful to see school children here as well. We are so glad you're here. Thank you. And thank you again to the choir. I want to recognize a few elected officials we have in our, with us today. Of course, we have our wonderful and supportive Congressman Dan Lipinski, who's here. We have our village clerk, Jane Quinlan, Trustee Terry Vorderer. We have our fire chief, George Sheets, and our police chief, Randy Palmer. We have representatives from our police and fire department, our VFW Daughters of the American Revolution, and it's a community outpouring of support. I'd like to call Congressman Dan Lipinski to the podium to say a few words. Congressman.
Good morning. Thank you for being out here this morning. It's hard to believe it's been 16 years since that horrible day. And unfortunately, it seems like some may be forgetting that day. We don't have as many commemorations as we used to have, but I'm very happy, and I want to thank the Village of Oak Lawn, the Rotary Club, the mayor, the VFW, all who are out here this morning to remember what happened on 9/11, 2001. We'll never forget those who lost their lives or the brave men and women who rushed in, the first responders who rushed in without a care for their own safety in their lives. And we shouldn't forget the unity that was felt in our nation after that horrific day. I think it's something that we always need to remember, and we should come back to remembering that unity. When sometimes today there's so much disunity in our nation, remember that we are all Americans, and we will only stand strong when we stand together. That's what we have to do. We cannot allow a few evil people to take away the freedom of all of us. And so I want to thank all of our first responders for what they do, and all the men and women of our armed forces who are out there today, serving us, keeping us safe, and all of our veterans who are here today. Thank you for what you have done for us. We have to remain ever vigilant. And today, let's keep in our thoughts and our prayers, again, all those who perished, their families, and all of our first responders and men and women of our armed forces, and hope, work, and pray that we never go through another day like 9/11. Thank you for being here today to remember. God bless you, and God bless America.
Thank you, Congressman. You're such a strong supporter of our first responders, and you've recently helped us obtain, I believe, the largest grant for fire suppression in the state of Illinois from the federal government this year. We are so appreciative of all you do for our first responders, sir. I would like to call up Randy Palmer. He's the Village of Oak Lawn Police Department Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everybody, for coming out today. First of all, thank you to the Oak Lawn Rotary and all those who donated money and time, assisted with the concept, the design, the building, and the placement of this great memorial. I would also like to thank Congressman Lipinski, Oak Lawn Mayor Dr. Berry, trustees, Clerk Quinlan, Village Manager Deachin, members of the VFW Post 5220, members of the Daughters of the American Revolution, and distinguished guests for coming out today to remember those who sacrificed all on 9/11/2001. It is my honor to speak with you about the great sacrifice that took place 16 years ago today and the continuing sacrifices being made by not only first responders, but the U.S. military and others around the world. 16 years ago, our way of life in this great country changed forever. However, not all of that change was for negative reasons. After that tragic event, on the fateful day, we all witnessed what America is best at, rallying together, as we witness now in both Hurricane Harvey and Irma. Ordinary Americans risking their own lives for the greater good, for those they don't even know. I also see how quickly we can forget our past. I watch as some disrespect our flag and our national anthem by burning the flag, taking a knee at sporting events, and ambushing police and fire personnel at protests or while just performing their jobs. We must come together as a nation once again and functions such as this help all us to never forget. This great memorial will assist all those who travel through this area daily to remember, give thanks, and celebrate the great memory of those lost 16 years ago today, and all those who continue to place themselves in harm's way for others. Thank you, and God bless the United States of America.
I'd like to call the choir up one more time for a special musical presentation. Again, this is from Oak Lawn Community High School, their choir. Thank you.
I'd like to thank everyone for having us out here today to perform for you and to show homage to what was a very dark day in our history. The choir is going to perform a piece for you called Unclouded Day, which is kind of fitting as there are no clouds on today. It comes from the Southern hymn of what's called Heavenly Home, and it describes that kind of hope and that journey to finally someday reach some peace. It's a very spirited, upbeat piece, so I'm hoping that even though we kind of remember the somberness of today, that you feel invigorated and feel hopeful towards our future as you listen to us sing. This is Unclouded Day.
Oh, they tell me of a home far beyond the sky. They tell me of a home far away. And they tell me of a home where the storm clouds rise. Oh, they tell me of an unclouded day. Oh, the land of cloudless days. Oh, the land of an unclouded sky. Oh, they tell me of a home where no storm clouds rise. Oh, they tell me of an unclouded day. They tell me of a home. They tell me of a home. They tell me of a home. They tell me of a land far away, where the tree of life in eternal bloom sheds its fragrance through the unclouded day. Oh, the land of cloudless, cloudless. Oh, the land of an unclouded sky. Oh, they tell me of a home where no storm clouds rise. Oh, they tell me of an unclouded day. Tell me of a king in his beauty bed. They tell me of my life shall be full. In the city of sand that is made of gold. Oh, the land of cloudless days, unclouded sky. Oh, they tell me of a home where no storm clouds rise.
That was absolutely beautiful, thank you. And you're right, not a cloud in the sky, just like it was 16 years ago. I'd like to call our Oaklawn Fire Department Chief, George Sheets, up for a brief presentation.
Good morning. Before I start my speech, I would like to say thanks to Representative Lipinski. As Mayor Burry said, he was able to assist the fire department in receiving $1.3 million in funds from the federal government to supplement our fire department. We know without his support, we may not have been as successful in receiving the grant. So Representative Lipinski, thank you very much. Also, beside me here is a sculpture of some firefighter gear, helmet and boots that will be displayed back here with these beams from New York, as well as a police department will have also a bulletproof vest, a gun, and some other items that will be displayed here, and that's still in the works. So thanks to the Rotary Club, as the past president there, I want to thank you for making this happen. On behalf of the Village of Oaklawn and the Fire and Rescue Department, I welcome you to this memorial service this morning. What started out as an ordinary morning on September 11th, 2001, ended as a horrible day in world history. Across the country, we watched in horror as the towers collapsed. We listened in shock to phone calls of the passengers aboard the hijacked airplanes and wept as we heard them tell their wives, daughters, husbands, and sons they loved them one last time. However, feelings of pride and unity rose from the flames. We read the heroic stories and watched with pride as ordinary citizens went above and beyond the call of duty to help their fellow Americans. As horrible as 9/11 was, it reminded us of what makes this country so great. This anniversary reminds us that even the worst of tragedies give way to brighter days. So while painful as this date is and always will be, it provides us with a very important lesson that no single event can take away who we are or determine our future as a nation. Let us never forget the men and women who were first responders that day and who were willing to give their lives to protect others. I also want to recognize those first responders that are here today behind us, who are willing to protect our homes, our families, and communities. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. As your fire chief, I'm extremely proud of each and every one of you. I thank you. God bless America. And God bless the USA. Thank you.
I'd like to call Commander Roy Johnson up from our Johnson Phelps VFW to say a few words.
Thank you, Mayor Barry. We as veterans here in Oaklawn are fortunate to have Congressman Lipinski as our representative in Congress and Mayor Barry as the mayor here of Oaklawn. They are both very, very big supporters of veterans, and if we need something, we can depend on them to get it done, and we thank them for that. I would like to also commend the Oaklawn Community High School Choir for the great job that they did with the national anthem and the hymn that they sang. You guys were great. Thank you. It's appropriate that we are here on Patriots Day in Oaklawn at Patriot Station to remember those who perished 16 years ago in the worst tragedy that ever hit the 48 United States. Many of them, most of them were first responders doing what they do best. I would also like to remind everybody to please remember those men and women who are currently serving on active duty. As a father of a son who is currently in the Middle East, I pray for him every day, and I pray for his teammates and his partners. And as a Navy veteran, I especially remember those 10 sailors who died on the McCain, and the 7 who died on the Fitzgerald. we have to remember that our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines, just like our first responders behind us, are always in harm's way, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They never let up. They're always there for us. And when our servicemen and women come home, please remember them. They get a lot more support nowadays, support that they deserve, much more than most of these veterans to my right got when we came back from Vietnam. So all I ask is that you remember them in your thoughts and your prayers, and thank them when they come home. And I thank you for the opportunity to speak this morning. Thank you. Thank you.
I'd like to call up a representative from the Daughters of the American Revolution, the Swallow Cliff chapter, to say a few brief remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Historic preservation, education, and patriotism. These are the objectives of the National Society Daughters of the American Revolution. This memorial embodies all of these. It is vital that we preserve the history surrounding the horrific events of 9/11 so that we can educate our children and future generations about that day and remind them of the incredible patriotism and bravery demonstrated by those involved in the unfolding events and rescue efforts. Swallow Cliff Chapter is proud to be a part of today's observance and to express our gratitude to all first responders on 9/11, here in Oak Lawn, and across the nation, who so selflessly give of themselves each and every day. I'm also here for another reason. When my family, came into possession of an American flag that had flown over the United States Capitol building, we knew that this flag was too special to remain with us. We and Swallow Cliff Chapter have been looking for the right place and occasion where we might present it. What better place and time than today, right now? Mike, would you come forward, please? From the Schaefer family and Swallow Cliff Chapter NSDAR, please accept this flag and certificate of authenticity.
Thank you very much. For those of you who may not know, that was Dr. Reardon. He's the superintendent of Oak Lawn Community High School, and he's also an Oak Lawn Rotarian. And we have a bee that really likes me. I apologize, folks. It's going in my toes, under my dress. It's really quite a problem. Getting more serious, I wanted to just take a few minutes and share a few numbers with you before we go on our separate ways and back to our regular lives. Numbers. It's 16 years since that event. 2,996 people were killed. More than 6,000 were wounded. 1,402 people died at or above the floors of the impact on the North Tower. So everyone where the impact was, 1,400 people didn't make it. In the South Tower, 614 people above the impact were killed. An estimated 200 people fell or leapt to their deaths after the impact. Most of those who perished were civilians. The youngest was 18. The oldest was 79. 372 non-US citizens from over 90 countries were killed. It's absolute devastation. I do want to talk about our first responders. On that day, 343 firefighters and 71 law enforcement officers died in the World Trade Center and on the ground in New York City. One law enforcement officer died when United Airlines Flight 93 crashed in Shanksville, and 55 military personnel died at the Pentagon in Arlington County, Virginia. The carnage didn't end that day, however. As of August of 2013, medical authorities concluded that 1,140 people who worked, lived, and studied in Lower Manhattan at the time of the attack have been diagnosed with cancer as a result of exposure to toxins at Ground Zero. Over 1,400 9/11 rescue workers who responded to the scene at the days and months after the attack have since died. I want to say that again. Over 1,400 of our first responders have died since that attack were there. It's wonderful to see the children here. All of these children in our schools, with the exception for maybe a few seniors, weren't alive when this happened. 10 unborn children died on September 11th. When you put the numbers into perspective, it haunts you so much. So I'm so appreciative that we take time to reflect and honor our first responders, honor those who lost their lives, and honor our great country by remembering and never forgetting. Before you leave on your way today, if you could please stop and see this new sculptural element. We're very excited about it. We wanted the children coming to the Children's Museum to have a ground element that connected these beams with our police and with our firefighters. So the sculptor who did the beams is the same sculptor who did the boots, and we'll do the police element also. We hope to have those done by the end of the year. And I want to thank the artist also on that. And that will conclude our ceremony. We just have one more thing. The VFW Honor Guard will play taps to honor the fallen. If everyone could please rise. Thank you.
Honor Guard, Hotcats, Hood. Bugler, perform your duties. Present, home.
Thank you everyone for coming. This concludes our presentation today. Please feel free to linger, touch the beams, connect with history, and let us never forget.